Let's talk about plagiarism. There's a lot of misunderstanding about exactly what plagiarism is. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to explain to you what it is, the different types, and why you shouldn't be doing it. So, how do we define plagiarism? Well, anything that involves copying any words, images, paraphrasing sentences or passages, taking someone else's ideas without giving them the credit. Okay, so it's a form of academic dishonesty, saying something's yours when it isn't. It is expected that everything you submit for marking, for moderation, is your own work. Getting the credit for the work that you never did, the ideas that aren't yours, the concepts and definitions and thoughts, etc., of other people, and then putting them in as yours, that is dishonest. So if you're getting credit for something that you've not done, you're also, in a way, misleading the people who read your work, making them believe that it's yours when actually it's not. So what's the meaning of the word? Well, it comes from a Latin term, plagiarius, which means kidnapper. So when you take someone else's ideas, thoughts, words, and then you present them as your own, you're kind of kidnapping. You're taking something that isn't yours, that doesn't belong to you, that you have no right to, and then claiming it's actually yours. So there's a couple of different types of plagiarism. I took these from Berkeley's website, which is a university in America, and the picture you can see is from Turnitin, which is the college's plagiarism checker. So global plagiarism is when you basically copy and paste large amounts of text and just put that straight into your document. So copying from a website, from a textbook, from a journal, from a PDF file, literally word for word, and then handing that in as your own, that's global plagiarism, okay? It's not yours. If you buy an essay off the internet, or you get something off your friend, or you find a student that was in the college last year, and then you hand that work in with your name on it, that's not your work, and that's global plagiarism. There's also patchwork plagiarism. Some students think it isn't plagiarism if you just take something and then you change a few things here and there in it. It is still plagiarism. It's just a bit more patchy. It's not global, but it's not your work. Then there's incremental plagiarism, this idea that you can write a chunk of it yourself, but then slot into the middle of it a big chunk of somebody else's work, or copy and paste something from a website, for example. Okay, this is less work being handed in as not yours, but it's still not yours. Okay, so this is just another form of plagiarism, and the checker will find that. Another thing I've found my students doing over the past few years is going to these paraphrasing websites such as Quillbot, and then copying and pasting chunks from web pages or textbooks, allowing the software to then paraphrase what's being said and then handing that in as if it's somehow original work. Not only is this still plagiarism, quite often these websites convert what you think is understandable text into something else that becomes just complete gibberish. And a lot of the times it doesn't make any sense. And when your teacher, your lecturer reads this, it just becomes nonsense that makes not a lot of sense. So don't use these paraphrasing websites either. In fact, there's a quote there from the FAQ from Quillbot, and they're quite clear that if you use their website and hand this work in as your own, that is not the intention of the company, and that is plagiarism, and they are suggesting that you should not be using it for that purpose. Now, it is possible to plagiarize by accident. You didn't mean to put something in that wasn't yours, but you ended up doing it anyway. So if you forget to put quotation marks when you've quoted somebody else, then you're not giving them the credit. If you paraphrase the original text and it reads too much like the original, that's still plagiarism. Mentioning an idea that you got from somewhere without saying where you got it from, that's plagiarism. You need to be putting the sources somewhere in your document. If you include information in a citation, so you quote from something, but then you put a different place as the place where you got that quote from, then that might just be a mistake, but it's still a form of plagiarism. So you need to be careful about that. If you don't produce a list of all your sources somewhere within your document, then you're not giving credit to those sources, to those original ideas, original texts, original thoughts. That's plagiarism. So be careful what you hand in. So here's an example of how to badly plagiarize some work. So you can see the original text here, and then underneath we can see that all that the student has done in this case is just changed a few things. So they've kind of paraphrased sections and handed it in, but it's too close to the original. It's still plagiarism. Here's a second example. What the student's done here is they've read the original text. They've then put that away somewhere so they can't see it. They've thought about what's actually being said here, and they've written it in a way that is their understanding of it. It's not close to the original. It doesn't look like the original. It is the student's understanding of what's being said. You still would have to put this original source in your list of sources, but you're not just taking it and making some tweaks to it and handing it in as your own work. So be careful with plagiarism. Make sure what you're handing in is original and your own work, and that you're giving credit where credit is due.